5 children vanished on Christmas Eve. Their home was reduced to ashes, but no bodies were ever found. For decades, their parents searched for answers, refusing to believe that their children had died in the fire. Was it a tragic accident, or one of the most haunting kidnappings in American history? This is the chilling mystery of the Sodder children. In the small town of Fayetteville, West Virginia, the Sodder family seemed like any other hardworking immigrant household trying to build the American dream. George and Jenny Sodder had 10 children. Their home was lively, crowded, and always full of laughter. George had come from Italy, and over the years he had built a modest trucking business that provided a decent living for his family. But beneath the surface, there were tensions. George was outspoken about his dislike for Mussolini and the fascist regime in Italy. In a community where many Italian immigrants still felt loyalty to their homeland, his opinions made enemies. He received threats, subtle warnings that perhaps he should watch what he said. George, however, refused to stay quiet. It was December 24th, 1945, Christmas Eve. The Sodder home, a 2-story wooden house on Route 16, was decorated and buzzing with holiday excitement. That night, 9 of the 10 children were at home. The eldest daughter, Marion, had been working at a local 5 and dime store and returned late with small gifts for her younger siblings. The children played with the presents, laughed, and resisted bedtime. Around 10 p.m., Jenny told them it was time for sleep. 5 of the younger children, Morris, 14, Martha, 12, Louis, 9, Jenny Jr., 8, and Betty, 5, begged to stay up longer. Their mother relented. They were excited. After all, it was Christmas. George and 2 of the older boys, John and George Jr., had already gone to bed. Jenny, the mother, followed a little later. By midnight, the house was quiet, or so it seemed. Around 12:30 a.m., Jenny was woken by the sound of the phone ringing. She went downstairs and answered. On the other end was a woman's voice, asking for someone Jenny didn't know. In the background, there was laughter and clinking glasses. When Jenny said she didn't recognize the name, the caller laughed strangely and hung up. Jenny thought it odd, but didn't dwell on it. She noticed that the curtains were open and the lights were still on, unusual since the children normally closed up before bed. She turned off the lights, drew the curtains, and returned upstairs. Half an hour later, Jenny was startled again, this time by the sound of something hitting the roof, followed by a rolling noise. Then silence. Moments later, she smelled smoke. At around 1 a.m., flames erupted through the Sodder home. George and Jenny scrambled to wake the children. 4 of them managed to escape. Marion, Sylvia, the youngest, who was still a baby, John, and George Jr. But the other 5, Morris, Martha, Louis, Jenny Jr., and Betty, were trapped upstairs in their rooms. The staircase was already engulfed in flames. George tried desperately to save them. He ran outside, barefoot in the snow, and attempted to climb to the 2nd story. The ladder he always kept against the house was missing. He then tried to use his coal trucks to climb to the window, but neither truck would start, despite working perfectly the day before. Neighbors rushed to help, but the telephone line was dead. Someone drove to town to call the fire department, but the volunteer crew did not arrive until hours later, around 8 a.m. By then, the Sodder home had collapsed into a pile of smoldering ruins. The 5 children were gone. The initial assumption was straightforward. The children had perished in the fire. But when investigators sifted through the ashes, no remains were found, no bones, no teeth, nothing. Experts insisted that the fire had burned hot enough to destroy the bodies completely. But Jenny wasn't convinced. She later conducted her own experiments, burning animal bones, even a whole hog, and the bones always remained. Other experts confirmed her suspicions. A house fire, even at high temperatures, does not reduce human bones entirely to ash. If the children had died in the fire, there should have been some trace. The complete absence of remains was baffling. The cause of the fire was also suspect. Initially, investigators declared it was an electrical fault. Yet witnesses noted that the Christmas lights had stayed on for a time during the fire, something that wouldn't happen if faulty wiring was to blame. The Sodders began to believe that something far darker had happened. The missing ladder was later found at the bottom of an embankment, far from the house. The phone line hadn't been destroyed by the fire. It had been cut. Witnesses came forward with odd stories. A driver on Christmas Eve saw people throwing balls of fire onto the Sodder roof. One woman claimed she saw the missing children in a car speeding away from town. Another reported that she had served them breakfast at a local diner. The most chilling clue came years later. In 1967, the Sodders received a photograph in the mail, postmarked from Kentucky. On the back was a handwritten note: Louis Sodder, I love Brother Frankie. Elil Boys, a 90132 or 35. The photo showed a young man who resembled Louis, who would have been in his 20s by then. The family believed it was him. For the rest of their lives, George and Jenny refused to accept that their children had died in the fire. They erected a large billboard on Route 16 with the children's photos, offering a reward for information. The billboard stood for decades, a haunting reminder to everyone who drove by. The Sodders chased every lead, hired private investigators, and followed rumors across the country. But the truth remained elusive. George died in 1969, never knowing what happened to his children. Jenny lived until 1989, wearing black every day and mourning. Their surviving children continued the search, but to this day, the mystery remains unsolved. There are three main theories about what happened that night. 1. The children died in the fire. The official explanation. But the lack of remains, the missing ladder, the cut phone line, and the non-functioning trucks make this unsatisfying. 2. The children were kidnapped. Possible motive: retaliation for George's anti-Mussolini views. Some believe Italian mafia connections may have played a role. The supposed sightings, the mysterious photo, and the cut phone line support this theory. 3A cover-up. Some suggest corruption or involvement of local authorities. The delayed response of the fire department and the quick ruling of accidental fire are suspicious. The disappearance of the Sodder children is one of the most enduring mysteries in American history. It is a story of tragedy, hope, and the relentless determination of a family that refused to stop searching. Even today, more than 75 years later, people still debate. Were the children consumed by the fire, or did they escape only to live out their lives in hiding, separated from their family forever? We may never know the answer. What do you think happened to the Sodder children? Were they lost in the flames of Christmas Eve, or did someone take them away in the dead of night? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this story chilling, make sure to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Dark Butterfly for more haunting mysteries from around the world.